Hello, everybody. Welcome to Always Off Brand. We take retail e-commerce, simplify it, throw a big bag of fun in there. You know, Scotty O here on the mic. A little solo action today for today's episode but believe me, I'm going to have friends. I'm bringing friends to the program. I'm bringing friends in because there was an episode as I head next week to beautiful Atlanta, Georgia for the Digital Shelf Institute, the Digital Shelf Summit by the fine folks, DSI and also Salsify. And they have this great B2B, this great conference that I had the opportunity and pleasure to go last year and moderate some panels and record some pods. And I'm going to be going again this year. I'm going to moderate actually a really fun debate. So that'll be cool. But more importantly, and as importantly, I should say, shout out to just Lauren Livak, Gilbert, Jamie Clapper from the Digital Shelf Institute, who, go through a tremendous amount of work putting this on. Just incredible. So we got a great debate going as my microphone is screwed up, which I love that. Big shout out to Lauren Livak Gilbert, friend of the program, and also Jamie Clapper, who recently joined Lauren, the dynamic duo for the Digital Shelf Institute, and they have put on an unbelievable amount of effort and work to get this conference going. It's one of the best. I'll do one in Europe again. So I'm excited about that. I'm moderating a fun debate on measurement. Yeah. Several weeks ago, the Unpacking the Digital Shelf, which is produced part of DSI and hosted by Peter Crosby and Lauren Livak Gilbert. They had another friend of the program who's been on many times, one of the greatest analysts in the business, Russ Dieringer from Stratably. They had Russ back on their program to talk about AI, and everybody just needs to calm the down, okay? Fill in the blank. Bleep, bleep, bleep. Sorry, Eva. Because he puts some real just facts, right? He studies the biggest companies in the world, e-commerce, all that, and he came on to just kind of settle things down. And this was the start of it right here.
Agentic commerce, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm just going to get that right away. Pull the Band-Aid off.
Of course. Why wouldn't we talk about it, right? It's top of mind.
Why this is such a great conversation is we want everyone to calm the F down about it. And
your word, Peter's words, not mine.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'd love to make it an explicit podcast, but not today. Because I want to make sure everyone listens to this, even with their children in the room. So there's just a lot going on. But, the other day when OpenAI pulled back on instant checkout, because guess what? Commerce is hard.
Now he's referring, again, this is recorded several weeks ago with the big thing, OpenAI, Chit Chatty came on. That was a big checkout. And then they're like, just kidding. Oopsie daisy. So that's what he's referring to there. Let's just pick it back up with Peter Crosby. He's getting to the punchline here.
But all of this is going on. People are hearing from grifters all over the place that, oh my God, this is a urgent emergency. And so we wanted you to come because you've talked to so many people, you were at CAGNY recently. So hearing from a lot of CEOs, earnings reports, all of those things. And you got a point of view that I think is really cogent at this moment in time. So dive in. What's going on?
Yeah. I appreciate it. I think, we've all collectively been, in this space for a decade plus now at this stage.
A little more, Russ. I've been here just a couple more years, but I'm older than you.
And I'm not sure there's ever been a time where there's been as much FOMO on stuff as there is right now, mostly because of agentic commerce. And so, really for the last, 18 months or so, it has just been a wild world of announcements and investments on behalf of the tech companies, evolving business models, and frankly, I think like a lot of hand wringing inside of our consumer brand clients. And it's tough to sort of understand where we're at today and where it's going when we had this backdrop of just like announcement after announcement and, Meta's building agentic commerce and it's going to fundamentally change everything. Like that's a lot of the headlines.
Russ, so well said. And I am here to hold my hand up and say, I have gotten sucked into this, not by, but it's hard to avoid when you're in the bubble that we're in and on the linky. And and even now it's just even in normal news cycles, because of the scale and size of the money and because of all the moves and because of the power in the stock market and wherever of the big Mag 7, the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebook Metas, the all this stuff. So it's hard to avoid all of the sizzle, all of the stuff. And he's exactly right. It is the backdrop of what we see and hear and feel every day. However,
not to pick on Meta,
and which causes the C-suite to turn around and go, and the board, and then the C-suite to turn around and go, where are we? What are we doing? What's happening?
I couldn't say that any better, Peter Crosby, because that's the truth. That's how this works. If you haven't been involved in this, or don't have exposure to it or yet, or maybe whatever, this is how this works. Because the boards they're in a whole nother little friend group. And so all the board people are at wherever they're at. And they talk to all their buddies and they're reading Wall Street Journal. They're reading all the stuff. They see all the buzz. And then their friend says, why aren't you doing this? My company's doing that, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing for AI? This is how it starts. Then they go to the CEO and they're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then the CEO, that's, the saying, it rolls downhill. Then C-suites are like, well, what are we doing? I got to have answers.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I wrote on LinkedIn a few weeks back, is that every C-suite is so hyper-focused and interested on agentic commerce and then only mildly interested on e-commerce.
But can you imagine? Can you imagine if they were as interested about agentic commerce as they were about e-commerce?
It was like, this is what we've been trying to, say for a while now, right? And
where's the growth coming from, Russ?
Yeah, right. We could have done that session again, which was, we've written recently about that, just because it keeps being pertinent. So to your point earlier, we, in the last couple of months, we looked at, hey, what's actually doing our best to suss out, like what's actually happening today? What are companies actually doing today? And what's realistic and what can they expect from, taking action? And our purview for listeners is mostly through the large to mid-sized consumer brand lens. So, what can these types of brands do in response to all the craziness that is agentic commerce? I do think we should take a moment and try to arrive a little bit at a common language around what do we mean by agentic commerce, because that can mean a lot of different things. There's others in the space that have done, I think, a good job at laying out sort of like the different stages of agentic commerce. For my purposes, as I talk about it, here today on the podcast, really, and what the analysis that we wrote about focused on was shoppers using chatbots to help them discover, research, and purchase products. So you can think about a shopper using ChatGPT to, I tried this, find a set of good cross-country skis in the depths and bowels of winter here in Northeast Ohio.
Like I said, this is recorded. I don't even know when it was recorded. It came out several weeks ago. As a matter of fact, it came out on March 16th. I'm recording this on the 29th of April. So yeah, depths of winter there.
A couple weeks back, or using Rufus to help find some new shampoo, which if there's video of this podcast, I don't really care that much about.
Russ has a very short haircut, very tight, very tight. His point is all of the same, right? And this is what they're going to get to eventually is they kind of culminate on this. Everybody's, yes, they're using these chat things and the numbers are growing and all this stuff, but they're just going to a website and they're informed of possible discoveries, their research, and then they go and they make this normal thing where they buy. Not a lot of people are buying directly off LLMs. This is the big race. And so when he went to skis, he tried to use that for research, but then he had to go to the normal places. And same thing for the shampoo, the Rufus, which as I'm recording this, they just came out with a big announcement. Thank you to Scott Wingo here for enlightening us. And George Westcott also made a post about this, but 8 different improvements on Rufus. And so, but is it helping you find stuff? Is it actually, they came out a big report. It's attributed to umpteen zillions in sales, but really, is it? I mean, I don't know how we're getting that. Nobody really tells you how we're getting there. So Rufus is becoming a bigger deal and all that, but the agentic shopping of it, it's just not happening yet. It's just not. The reality is, if you look at the numbers, it ain't happening. Will it? Sure. I'm not here to naysay that or poo-poo that. I'm just saying it feels like it's all happening. Oh my God, we're all behind. But the reality is, and what Russ goes on to say is, it's just, that's not what the reality is right now for the biggest companies in the major markets.
Consumers are using chatbots, and they're using it for a variety of purchases, including researching products, just, and discovering products, however we want to separate those two things. But I think actual shopping, particularly in the horizontal agents, we've probably overhyped.
Oh, we probably have. Yes, we have. We've overhyped. So he talked about horizontal agent, and we talk about vertical agent. And let me explain this if you haven't heard this terminology. So a horizontal agent is what we see on our phones if you have Claude or Chat or Genesis or any of the other LLMs, the AI LLMs on your phone or on your desktops, what have you. Those are horizontal agents, meaning they're your agents. You go to the agents, you ask, find me the best price on shampoo, and it horizontally goes across the web. It goes across the internet, and it goes out and it finds what we want. Okay. Vertical agent is where, like, Rufus is a vertical agent when you're in Amazon. Sparky is a vertical agent when you're on Walmart.com. If I go to another retailer or another site and they have their own little cute agent that doesn't go outside of that site, that's a vertical agent. So the big question is, are these horizontal agents are they going to become marketplaces? Are we going to are they going to follow us around to wherever we go? Now, today, there is some new updates here, but today, the horizontal agent can't get into Amazon. It can't take you to Amazon. It can reference it, but it doesn't have access to their catalog. So you can't go from your agent. Right now, I'm with Claudette right now. Claudette. She can't take me if I go, blah, 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 I'm looking for this shampoo or this whatever, and then I click out. It can't take me to Amazon, the product detail page. Bam, my checkout, my Prime, I'm all locked in, and I got my shampoo that in the next 7 minutes. Exaggerating, but you see what I'm pointing. So this is the big question: is horizontal agents, vertical agents? That's what he means when he's talking. Which way does the agent go? So Russ Dieringer, quickly again, Stratably is an independent analysis firm that the biggest companies subscribe to him because he's looking at the analyst reports, he's looking at earnings, he's looking at point of sale. He's looking at it. He's an analyst. He comes from the analyst side, from investment banking and everything else. So he's the most objective third party. He's looking at it. And from his point of view and all the big brands he's talking to, this is kind of where they're feeling it.
In that space, and the companies that we covered in our recent research report, which would include large CPGs, Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, Shopify, I think their remarks and what they're doing would support that.
Support that, meaning it's super, super, super early, crazy early. We're not pessimistic about it, but it's like, it's just a teeny tiny baby right now.
Despite, again, every conference, every panel, everything, really hyping up Agentic, the companies closest to it, are really describing it as super, super early, and maybe it pans out and we'll see, and we're testing and learning. And so we're not trying to be pessimistic about it, but more so trying to provide the industry sort of an honest assessment, which we can do because at Stratably, we're an independent research firm. We really don't care one way or the other which retailers gain share, lose share. We don't care if Agentic takes off or doesn't take off. We're just trying to understand and predict what's going to happen on behalf of our clients. And so that's what we try to do with the report.
There you go. And they do a great job. They've been doing it for years. So this is the whole point of this is what even though we're just barraged by all the new cool toys, and I'm all for it. Man, my God, I have like 3 AI newsletters that's just constantly hammering me, which I made the choice to subscribe, and I love, and I peruse. But the point is, I mean, it's a pebble in the ocean yet right now. I mean, it's just not even worth, it's barely getting going. It's something they have their eyes on. And yes, it's a big buzz in boardrooms and C-suites and everything else like we've talked about. Just phenomenal marketing. We are such a great marketing economy, marketing consumerism. It's fantastic. But his report and his research shows that they can put it on the screen all day and we can panels and talk about it. And there's 700 billion little AI startups. It's not moving the meter yet. It's just not so tangible that it's not showing up on the top 20 of a spreadsheet or the top line of a dashboard. I can tell you, not even anecdotally, I can tell you from Quickfire, and we do paid search and paid social and everything else. And so our reporting, we report out on our SEO reports, we report out how much traffic is coming to these websites from LLMs. It's teeny tiny. It's barely nothing. But yes, is it up a zillion % from zero? Yes, it is. I went to Arizona State, but even that math, I understand. So it's a big increase because it started out as nothing. So I just love the way they've framed this conversation and positioned it, because again, you're getting Russ Dieringer coming like, it's great. It's fabulous. I think it could be Agentic Shopping is a huge deal, but simmer down now. Everybody just simmer down. Chill out now, man. Just chill out. Sorry, that's what I liked about this particular episode. Now you'll hear from Lauren Livak Gilbert, and she's kind of validating because she works with a bunch of people. She has privy to all kinds of research data from large organizations covering this, and she kind of chimes in here.
And Russ, I would agree with you. I think when you really look at the data around the consumers that are using it to make a purchase, like there's a level of trust that just isn't there for the consumer wanting the agent to actually take the action. They'll do the research. They love that, right? Because it narrows down the options. But all the research indicates that they jump off of the LLM, they go to the PDP on the website of the retailer, and then they purchase from there. So that's the behavior that we've seen, I think, similarly in all of e-commerce. So that wasn't super surprising to us, but there's a huge element of that kind of trust factor.
Yeah, it comes down to trust. Now, will we get it? And does everybody have their faves? I've said this 100 times. Like I feel like I'm dating in my 20s again. I'm like, I started with ChatGPT. She was great, but then I had to keep like checking on her, and she kind of hosed me a couple times with some bad info. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not returning your calls. I'm going to ghosting your text. Then I've been recently, Gemini is I'm absolutely seeing Gemini. Okay. I'm going to admit it right here. I am seeing Gemmy. Okay. But I'm driving that one. Okay. I'm driving when I use Gemmy. It's typically on my phone and I'm Googling something, or I'm just Googling. And then Gemmy's Nano Banana. I'm all in on Nano. Nanos for me. At the same time, Claude, I'm using Claude way more and way more. We had Elaine Boyd on talking about Claude's coworker and all the operational stuff. So I think it just depends on who you're talking to. They're getting smarter every single day. But even though this was recorded several weeks ago or a month and a half ago, it's kind of true today. It's still what is actually happening in the masses. Now, I can sit here and say that's what's really happening. You can hear Russ Dieringer, and he's objective because he doesn't get a commission. He has no incentive, whether agentic commerce is the biggest thing or whatever. But he's right. Several weeks ago and months ago, and sometimes this flares up, that it comes off because the numbers are so staggering. It's convincing as all gets out. And this is what Russ is talking about here.
Well, there was sort of a big leap that everyone was making, and somebody's saying like, "Oh, ChatGPT is now the 7th largest retailer in the world." If we looked at queries or whatever, and like I get where the sentiment was coming from, and I'm not knocking that, but that sort of view of things, or like
I'm knocking it. Not really. I mean, again, what it's saying is when you have 700 to 800 million consumers adding ChatGPT and going on ChatGPT and using ChatGPT, it's very quickly, it's the fastest in history. It's a big ass number. So I get what he's saying. I mean, I'm calling it out, but again, it's just, there's context missing. And yes, there's a zillion people using LLMs and these AI agents, but no, it's not, it hasn't mass adoption to go buy stuff.
And the growth is so explosive, right? So it's hard to model anything that's growing that explosive. But to your point, actually getting a shopper to check out inside of some non-retail platform is extremely hard. And we've learned that lesson, right? We learned that lesson with social commerce, first and foremost. Now, TikTok Shop might be the exception to that rule, and it already is in certain categories. But look at what Meta's experience was. And that's why, like, again, I'm not here to pick on Meta, but like, Meta.
Well, you kind of are. You kind of are here to pick on Meta. And I'm okay. I'm here for that. It's fine. You can pick on them. Russ.
Suddenly saying like, oh, now, like, because of AI, we're now going to be able to get the consumer to check out, and there's going to be agentic inside of Facebook and Instagram, or, however they're characterizing it. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we would suddenly think that that's going to be a reality. And ChatGPT has, certainly experienced that. They've walked back native checkout, but even with the current, experience where they narrow down the results, they're not including Amazon in those results, at least as far as, we can tell. And I know there's been a very public, like Amazon saying, thou shalt not scrape our site and everything else. But
again, in Russ' defense, I mean, this is March 16th. This came out, and I don't know when they recorded it, but just literally, this is the 29th of April. The 28th, there was some big news breaking, and I'm sure on the Q1 earnings report from Amazon, Andy Jassy, Andrew, which I'll do a recap of tomorrow. That comes out tomorrow, the 30th of April. They decided they're going to join the unified or universal commerce protocol that Google came out with as far as a way for AI and agentic shopping to talk to each other. And so that's that could be foreshadowing to they are going to let LLMs and they are going to let outside third-party horizontal agents come in and see the Amazon catalog and data, but we don't know yet for sure. This is not fully cooked.
But when you don't have them, the options that it's surfacing are often not delivered at this, as fast as, as Amazon or maybe Walmart. The price competitiveness isn't necessarily there. And what do we mean by best? And maybe we'll talk about that later on Shopify and this concept of merit-based shopping and so on and so forth.
I don't even know merit-based shopping. There's trust. You have trust. Amazon has built a trust. Walmart has built huge trust. These major retailers have built trust that they're the biggest selection and they're the best price. People aren't going to kill themselves. I mean, right now they're going to kill themselves, but they have built that trust, right or wrong, that they are providing the absolute best value with the selection that you can buy. And that's just the way it is.
But all to say, there's trust needed to check out, but there's also they have to develop trust that they're actually delivering the best options for shoppers. And I'm not convinced that they are based on what we've found in our experimentation with it.
Yeah, in the IAB and Talk Shop survey and report in October, they found that 95% of consumers take additional steps online after using AI to feel certain before buying.
There you go. Peter Crosby coming in with the haymaker. Yeah, we're not there yet. And I like to highlight this episode. Big shout out to Peter Crosby, Lauren Livak, Gilbert, the Unpacking the Digital Shelf there by the Digital Shelf Institute, and everybody there at Solify. That's and Russ Dieringer, just simmer down on agentic shopping. I mean, we don't even have true personalization going yet. I'm sitting here going, I mean, the question that there are a lot of smarter people than me are trying to figure out is Amazon with Rufus, and they're coming out with big personalizations with that. Are they going to be it? Are they going to be horizontal? Are they now going to go and help me shop? Now think about how much they know. I mean, old Roofy, he knows so much about what you buy, about what you watch, about where you go. I mean, there's just the amount of data and first party data that Rufus has is insane. Same thing now building with Walmart and little good old Spacky over there. But so are we trust these people, and if it helps us, it makes it easier. But Siri hasn't quite worked out like everyone thought, and Alexa hasn't worked out quite like we thought. I mean, it actually had a heyday. So this is the other question. I mean, they got a branding problem, Amazon, Rufus or Alexa? I mean, they gotta duke this out and figure out which one's what. I don't know that both can exist long term if they're going to be the agent, the horizontal agent that lives with me and that helps me go everywhere. So I don't know what that. We're still, again, early innings, early days to see what happens there. Just to hammer this point again, just to put more empirical data behind it, I'll say. Russ watches and views this CAGNY. Okay, he went to this big CAGNY. Now these are all the big hitters coming in, and they're telling you what they're watching, what they care about, why, what matters, and why should you care, and all those things. So Lauren asked him, like, what's the vibe? Now this, I think, was in early March or mid-March, I believe, the CAGNY here in New York. And so Russ talks about his big takeaway.
So we mentioned the board and the C-suite and how they're thinking about agentic and how it's a popular topic in every meeting. But you recently went to CAGNY. And so for those who don't know, it's the consumer analyst conference in New York, and all the top CEOs present from the biggest CPG companies. So think like Pepsi, Kenvue, Unilever, P&G, you name it. They all present kind of their strategy and their results and kind of what they're focused on. So Russ, I am very interested to see, did they talk about agentic? Did they talk about e-com? What came out of
Yeah. And just to clarify, I wasn't actually at the show. I just looked at all the materials, and it took me forever because there are 31 companies that present for an hour long. Woo. And the transcripts and the slide decks. I've never seen so many consulting frameworks in 1 week time. I mean, it's just there's frameworks within frameworks within frameworks, and it's wild, and it's a lot to wrap your head around. But anyways, we did all that work. We do it every year.
You were virtually there.
Podcast. Yeah, I have to do it asynchronously because it takes me so long. But anyways, I believe there were 31 of these large consumer brands that present their strategy. It's not just a digital focused conference, but it ends up digital themes and trends tend to be a big part of it. And frankly, I was surprised that conference, virtually speaking, that agentic commerce did not come up more frequently. I mean, by our tally, and maybe there'll be people out there that can correct me.
Very interesting.
We heard 3 companies out of the 31 mention agentic. And really, L'Oreal was the only one that we heard say any actual tactical action that they were making in response to agentic, where they were talking about loading their structured data directly into ChatGPT so that it didn't have to scrape. I guess. But that's all it said. It was like a, couple sentence comment within a, hour-long presentation for L'Oreal. And, no one else, there were two other companies that said sort of very high-level remarks, but Agentic was almost completely absent from the whole week.
What, Russ Dieringer? What? Completely absent. These are the largest companies in the bazillion world, and they come in, they're what their strategy, what they're doing. And Agentic just isn't there. It's not on the table yet. I think there's just, I've said this before if you've never heard it, okay? Right now to all these cats, AI is a money grab. It's an expense line, right? Their job is to constantly look at cost centers and figure out how I can do it with less cost, more efficiently, optimize all that garbage. I got to do it for cheaper. So what are they doing? AI is the solve here. I can do this cheaper. I can not have 8 trillion engineers all over the world, dev teams here and there and everywhere else. And they task these CEOs and these C-suites like, hey, you got to do it cheaper because all my buddies got AI doing all this stuff. Why can't you do it? Okay, we gotta make some money. Margin. Stockholder, shareholder. That's the main get. Okay, and that's why none of these cats, Agentic just isn't quite there. It's not a money grab yet.
Which was pretty shocking. The flip side, like quote unquote AI, was very much talked about, but it was all in how companies are using AI in a variety of ways for internal processes.
Bam! Let me just translate to you. That's to make me money. It's 100%.
Show me the money.
That's all they care about because that's all they're tested. That's all their question. That's their job is to increase shareholder value by saving money. And payroll's expensive and benefits are expensive. So that's what it's all about.
As an example, content creation, things of that nature, right? And so there was a ton of focus and emphasis on we're leveraging AI as an enterprise in a variety of ways, but as it pertains to, agentic commerce, very little discussion, much more discussion on, Amazon or TikTok Shop or e-commerce broadly, or how they're trying to activate inside of stores in a unique way. Very little on Agentic.
Boom. And that's where I'll end this. Okay. Just time after time after time. Anyway, I love Russ Dieringer. He's our boy. He's our research guy. He's our independent consultant guy. The research work that they do at Stratably is incredible. Big shout out to them. And Lauren Livak Gilbert, Peter Crosby, the great work. They're one of the OGs of pods out there, people. If you're not unpacking the digital shelf, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. I just love that episode. I'm heading to the DSS, the Digital Shelf Summit next week. I thought I want to talk absolute hocus pocus junk, agentic commerce being the greatest, biggest windfall of cash right now in our industry in e-commerce and retail. It's bah humbug. Right now, I'm going to say bah humbug based upon my boy Russ telling me that it's just not a thing yet. It's just not a thing yet. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks you for watching. We are available on the YouTube at Always Off Brand. We will have a phenomenal guest, and Summer Jubilee Haley Brucker and the News are back next week, finally off this massive party of a vacation we've been on. But appreciate you, and remember, people matter. You've been listening to Always Off Brand. Bye-bye.
Hey there, this is Haley from Quickfire, and they want me to read this so you know what this podcast is part of and how to find out more if you want. Always Off Brand is a production of Quickfire LLC and a part of the Learn and Laugh series on the Quickfire Podcast Network. For more information, go to quickfirenow.com. Have a good one, and thanks for listening.